Well, how are you all doing today? I wanna throw out some hard truths here, and a lot of people know it. A lot of people don't, and they need to hear it. Although most of them probably won't accept it, and those who do accept it, probably most of them won't do a damn thing about it. That's why our country is in the shape that it's in. Uh, 2 nights ago, a friend of my oldest son Aiden's died of a fentanyl overdose. And it turned out he was at a party, and who knows what happened. These things, you never get the truth, right off. And it turns out that another person is in the hospital as a result of a fentanyl overdose at that same party. This was the party was at my son wasn't at the party. This is not a group that he runs with, but it was in a very affluent area of town. Now, what makes this news is not that someone died of a fentanyl overdose, nor is the fact that he was a friend of my son's make his life any more important than anyone else's. What I want to make the point of is that they have been killing us for years, and they've been doing it purposefully. When I was a teenager, the drugs really started hitting hard in our area, and I for whatever reason, and I knew some kids who had some problems with it, became kind of the thing that when I finally ended up thinking about going into law enforcement, it was the thing that I wanted to deal with. It was my goal to be a narcotics officer, and 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 I was able to after 5 years on the street. I was I finally got an assignment as an undercover to the local drug unit, and from there I worked both local and then later on the federal levels. What I discovered and the reason that as I look at this, I look at, and some of you know that I have hung only a few things on the wall in my office here, to kind of remind me of times in my life. The one right there is my police academy graduation picture, and I think that was 1974, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. I don't keep these years real close in my mind. 74, 75, something like that. I don't know. The one right above it is my certificate from the DEA when I completed DEA school. The one that you don't see is a picture of me that was taken by our detectives when I was a fairly new deputy sheriff, making what at the time was the largest drug bust in county history. That kind of shows my progression in the drug, my interest in the drug problem in our country. I left when I discovered that, and out of disgust, to be honest, when I realized that no one in the government had any interest in solving the drug problem, that even though there was a so-called war on drugs, and I think there have been a couple of presidents who I think have actually tried to do and cared enough to try to do something about it, but what we now call the deep state and the swamp, uh, didn't allow that to happen. One was Reagan, and the other is Trump. The others had no interest in uh, in solving the problem, and some of them even exacerbated it, either by action or inaction. But what I realized was that our government, by that I mean the American government, has a vested interest in the drug trade. It was our government who brought drugs into the cities. We know that. Uh, Brought them in from Southeast Asia, uh, either themselves or by, paving the way for others to bring them in. Um, and they did it for the money. They did it for the power, and they also did it for the reason of destabilizing our country. They wanted to destabilize our country in order to make greater control necessary and more palatable to the citizens of the United States. If they were able to say there's a horrible drug problem, then they were able to get more money in their departments and their agencies, which means they were able to hire more police officers. They were able to hire more agents. And the more cops you have, the more guys get promoted to sergeant. The more sergeants you have, the more guys get promoted to captain or lieutenant, depending on, and then major and colonel, all the way up. And the more people that you can put in jail over it, then it is the law enforcement industrial complex that I don't think most people think about, let alone talk about. You get to build more prisons. That means that you have more contracts to give providers to prison, those who provide the food services and the laundry services and all sorts of things. The so-called war on drugs was nothing more than a jobs program for cops. You need more probation officers. You need more parole officers. You need more public defenders. You need more. It goes on and on and on. It was the plan, I'm convinced, from the beginning. And it was aimed at certain segments of our society. And it has destroyed whole swaths of our society. It has decimated the black population. It has decimated several generations of Americans of all races. Well, maybe not all. I think the Asians pretty much escaped it. But make no mistake that this was a plan. Could I prove it? Yeah, given enough time and money, probably. But I was there, and I don't need to prove it. I'm just telling you what I know as a result of being inside the monster. Take it or leave it. Believe me or not, I don't care. And the problem is that most people, even if they believe it, they'll go around shocked for an hour, and they'll tell somebody, and then that'll be it. And the reason that this is continues to be a problem is because the lack of action not on law enforcement, but lack of action by the American people. And that's why I don't have any hope of it being improved at all. We have an election coming up here in a couple of weeks that's probably the most consequential of my lifetime, maybe 100 or more years. And a great many people won't go out and vote. They say that a third of gun owners don't vote. They say that a third of evangelical Christians don't vote. Those who are just so above it all, they can't bring themselves to vote for the so-called lesser of two evils. Not willing to admit to themselves that means they are failing to stand against the greater of two evils. With the fentanyl coming in now, and this now brings us up to why I made this, because of Aiden's friend dying the other night. With the influx of fentanyl by our enemies, by China, by Mexico, and allowed and aided and abetted by our own government and one political party, that being the Democrat Party, they continue to try to kill as many as they can and destroy half of this country, the half they don't like, to destroy the producers. They like nothing more than to see the people who they feel have gotten ahead in life. They don't realize it's a result of hard work, but that's the way that communists think. They love to destroy us. They love to kill us. That's what they've been doing for years with drugs and their social programs. And that's what they will continue to do. They want the open border. They want all of the illegals in here. They want the continued influx of fentanyl and whatever this new thing is that's 10 times, 100 times more powerful than fentanyl, because it gives them a platform and it gives them money. They make money, make no mistake. and it gives them a way to scare people into voting for them and more money. The reason that it probably won't change is because of the American people themselves. None of this would have happened if it weren't allowed by our government. And the average American citizen won't do any more than vote at the minimum. And most Americans won't even do that. But Americans will sit around and complain, and they'll talk about how terrible things are and how horrible things are. And can you believe this comes to this point? And that's all. That's all that they will do. It could be changed, but it's not going to be changed by government, because government has the vested interest. You see, in this case, the government is the enemy, because the government is the one that is either bringing it in actively or passively allowing it to come in and kill your kids and your grandkids and destroy America from within. And what do you do to prepare for it? Well, I've talked about that a million times, right? What are you going to do to stop it? 98% will do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So if you want to ask yourself what's happened to the country, because Americans didn't stand up. Americans didn't stand up and individually and collectively put a stop to it, because they were too lazy or busy or whatever. And it's so much easier to complain, isn't it? Well, my preparedness advice for you in this, since this is a preparedness channel, is get ready for things to get a whole lot worse. A whole lot worse. And when you wonder why, look at those people around you who wouldn't stand up, who wouldn't even vote, who wouldn't get involved, because they were too busy complaining and watching ball games. Adios, America. Whatever world you're able to carve out for yourself and your family is the world you're going to have, because the system and the government wants to kill you. Great way to start the week, but it's the truth. If you want to save yourself and your family, it's up to you. You all have a good day. Talk to you later.